Right, so first my thoughts on 168, and in particular the thing that you've probably heard to death by now, but the fall of Anderson Silva again. There are some questions to be asked here. One is, should he have fought in the rematch so soon? I had heard that he was not wanting to fight originally, and Dana White talked him into it. He was in a difficult place, I think, before the first Wiedemann fight, and I do think that there was a certain amount of him losing the first fight because he just wasn't playing ball anymore, and finally somebody saw through it. I did, however, say that I thought that Silva would be unable to win back that championship. And that was before I knew there was a rematch. It's interesting because the other thing to talk about is obviously how he lost the match. I think the first round proves that Chris obviously belongs where he is. He was winning that first round, and there's no reason to believe that he wouldn't have gone on to win had Silva not broken his leg. The question you have to ask yourself is, was it a freak accident sort of injury or not? There is a certain amount of deliberate use of the blocking of leg kicks going on with Chris. Quite deliberately so. I just don't think that, obviously, he thought that blocking kicks in that manner would produce quite such the result it did. There are going to be some people who say it was a freak accident. No, probably not. It might have been freak that the leg actually broke, but I don't think it was freak that Anderson Silva was going to do worse from that kick than Chris because of the way he blocked it. But of course you need to understand a little bit about sort of blocking techniques with legs to understand what was going on there. So to say, if people are going to say that this was a second fluke win against the same person who has been dominant for years, I think that would be a little bit harsh. Though I would also think it'd be a little bit harsh to sort of say that it was completely Chris's fault. I think it sort of just happened, but I think in exactly the same way that Chris had to capitalise the first time on Silva being, an idiot during the fight, so he capitalised here very cleverly by using a blocking technique which was going to cause the kicker more damage than the kicked. That's what I think anyway. There is no fighter of the card award for this particular match. I think the other thing that is weird is hearing a lot of the writers, a lot of the journalists say how they are sorry to see Silva go out this way, and doesn't he deserve more? It's interesting because great athletes eventually fail. They do eventually fail. And okay, it's a bit bizarre to have them actually, sort of break their leg on their last outing or whatever. But there is no nice way of saying that sometimes people are just past their prime, and or they reach somebody that they just cannot get past. There's no nice way of that happening, and I think it's a bit silly to sort of say, well, we wish he deserved better. He deserved better. Yes, that's the quote that keeps going through my mind, and I'm thinking, look, if he deserved better, he would have won, and he would have continued his reign. it's not like that. When you there is no nice way to lose. I'm sure that Silva would rather not have broken his leg like that, but I don't think that he wanted to lose at all. I don't think that losing a decision would have helped him any less or any more. I don't think it's like that. And of course, although they do try to make it as safe as possible, these things happen, and they are paid for this, and they know what they're getting themselves into. He'll recover, but whether he'll fight again at his age is another matter, and I personally think not. Moving on, as the UFC have done quite swiftly, we have a UFN event coming up within the first 4 days of the new year. So I'm making my predictions. These are quick picks. It's an Oriental one this time, and so I don't even know a lot of the people on this card. So I'm going to run through my quick picks first, and then I'm talking in depth about 4 fights, and of course the recap is at the end. We've got Kichi Kunimoto versus Lewis Dutra, and I'm going for Lewis Dutra winning by decision. We've got Kyung Ho Kang versus Sui Chiyu Shimizu or something like that. I think he'll win actually, and I'm going for a choke submission in the second. We've got Katsunori Kikonu versus Quinn Mulhern, and I'm going for a Quinn Mulhern decision. We've got Royston Wee versus Dave Galera, and this is a weird one because Royston only has 2. His record is a perfect 2. Having said that, having looked at Galera's record, I think that Royston Wee is going to win here. This could be my underdog pick of the night. So I'm going for him there. Mayabek Tazsamon and Tai Hyun Bang. I'm going for Mayabek winning by TKO there. And Leandro Iza versus Russell Doan. I'm going for Leandro by bar submission in the third. Their main event is Tariq Safadine versus Hyun-Gu Lim. Tariq you might know from Strikeforce. He's one of the imports there on a 4-fight win streak. He's never been finished. His record is 14-3. He is a decision king. Hyun-Gu Lim, 12-3. Wins by TKO but loses by submission. He is in fact on a 7-fight win streak. 2 of those are wins he's picked up within the UFC, but he hasn't faced as good a calibre, and I think that's going to matter here. I think his record will only save him as far as losing by decision there. The next fight is Tatsuya Kawajiri, a favourite of mine, versus Sean Soriano. Not a lot to go on with him, except for the fact that he's got a perfect record of 8. Whereas Kawajiri, you should know, has a long background in Pride and Shuto. He was in Strikeforce once, I think. He's on a 5-fight win streak at the moment, a recent import from Dream. His record is 32-7. Wins by TKO, loses by submission, and I'm going to go for him winning by TKO in the third. The third of my 4 fights here is Max Holloway versus Will Chope. 7-3 for Max Holloway, wins and loses by decision. He's a bit of a decision king, and in fact it's not looking good for him. He's on a 2-loss streak, and I do feel that he's probably going to lose this one as well. Will Chope, 19-5, and he's big into submissions. I think he will probably get a choke submission in the first round there. And finally, Dustin Kimura is fighting John Delos Reyes. 10-1 for Dustin Kimura. He's coming off a loss, so that one was in his last match. John is on a 4-fight win streak, record of 7-2. Do you know what? I'm still going to go for Dustin Kimura here. I'm going to go for a bar submission in the second. And those are my predictions for UFN. The first in January, I think it's 34, 35, something like that. And my thoughts on Anderson Silva as well.